Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I am your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA,
What up, friends? It's your girl, Jaquita.
and this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience more freedom.
Freedom.
Is
Yeah.
this going to be a regular thing? Because I
I don't know.
pause, and that usually is what comes after the pause, and I don't think I'm going to keep pausing. I think I'm going to just go right into it so it doesn't give you the opportunity to
No,
do
I'm
that
gonna do it
pausing.
anyway. Okay, I'm gonna do it anyway. You're gonna
Yeah,
be talking, and I'm gonna get in there. Okay, because that's
this
what I
is
feel like I need to do.
This is what I know. This is why my plan will never work. All right, guys, we're going to get right into it. Um, Today we talked about this concept on other on a previous episode, which I think it was the episode we talked about the soft life.
Soft
No,
life.
was
Yep,
it
that
life
was
life?
the first time,
So we
and then we
brought this
also
up.
talked about it on the last one.
We talked about it on the last one. So, but and it's we talk about it so much because I think it really resonates, and I think it's a great concept, and it feels very real right now. So, for those of you who know Jill Scott, some of you may not know her. If you don't, you need to know her. Incredible
Jilly from
vocalist,
Philly.
Jilly from Philly. Incredible vocalist, incredible actress, just all around entertainment mogul.
Going up
Um,
this mountain to
it's
save my marriage. One of her most iconic lines.
Jaquita. Okay. It's the truth. So so we're gonna talk about a quote she gave on an interview a while back. Some of you probably have already heard it. It's been a minute, but she talks about just how she has viewed the decades of her life. I think she's in her 50s now. She in her 50s.
Ooh, I think so.
I think she's in her 50s.
Late
So
40s, early 50s, maybe.
yeah, I think she's yeah. So so this is here it is, right? For those of you who haven't heard it. She says this each decade is like it categorizes how you work in order to
Mm-hmm.
get you to the place where you want to be later in your life. So you work hard in your 20s is what she says. You work smart in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
You work how you want to in your 40s.
Mm-hmm.
You work when you want to in your 50s, and you work if you want to in your 60s.
If
And
you want to
if you want
in
to.
your 60s.
And when I first heard that, I don't know about you, Queen, I was like, yo, like I, that resonates so deeply because I feel like that's as accurate of a description as I've heard in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that for me, it as we are kind of we're right now we're kind of on this brink, right? We're on this brink between one decade and the other. It doesn't matter which one it is that we on the brink of. Okay, we're middle adults,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
There's
think it
context
really
clues.
helped me to reflect back, especially on the 20s and the 30s, because the 20s was a confusing time for me. I remember when I was about to turn 30, I was elated. I was like, get me up out the ghetto of the 20s. Okay, release me. I did not mourn. I did not feel sad. I was utterly excited at the idea of no longer being in my 20s. And now that I'm on this other brink, I'm like, I don't know quite how to feel about this transition. I don't feel sad about it, but I'm also like, what I can already feel my mindset, my body, and kind of my expectations shifting. But when I look back on the 20s, for me, it was like, dang, I could have did the 20s better. Could have did those 20s better, but I think I did what I was supposed to do in my 30s. So it really caused me to reflect.
So, all right, so let's talk about each one. And let's just kind of break down how it looked for us. Like you said, you could have done your 20s better. So I actually think I did this in my 20s. I think I went pretty hard, pretty crazy in my 20s around this working hard thing.
Mm.
Like I to the point where I look back and it's like I don't even know if I should have done all that I did. Like it just felt like a lot. Um and I ended up going through a burnout process in that time. It's like I just had to drop everything at some point. But I was doing I had when I first got to I was started off in Houston, got to Memphis, ended up having at the peak probably four different streams of revenue coming in through work. It wasn't no passive, nothing. Um,
Mhm.
you know, in Memphis, and I'm doing all this stuff. I'm paying off debt. I'm at my church. I'm all involved. I'm leading in two or three different capacities. I'm in the choir. I'm doing all of this stuff, man. And it's like, golly, like I was tired,
Yeah.
and I crashed towards the end of that. Like towards the end of my 20s, I definitely crashed. I said, "Yo, I got to drop." Most of the stuff I dropped was at church, which I don't know how that makes people feel, but it is like I just had to stop doing stuff.
Not you dropped the Lord.
I still was going. I was still there, but I wasn't doing nothing. And
Ruth
so
said, "Listen, I'm gonna show up, but I ain't gonna be able to contribute
I
nothing
can't,
more."
I can't, I can't give you nothing else. And so, like, I feel like that was something. But you said you feel like you didn't maximize that. Like, what? How did that? What did it
Yeah.
not look like?
For me, so here's the thing, people. And this is still true today, unfortunately. I can't say that this is something I fixed in my life through the decades. If I don't feel passionate about it, if I don't
Mm,
feel very connected to it, very aligned, and if I can't see my impact in something, you're just not going to get a lot out of me.
mm,
I'm not going to be able to produce at a level that's really going to be like, man, Jaquita's a great hard worker. When you put me in a position where I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is what I'm here for, and I know exactly, you're gonna be like, this girl is unstoppable. In
mm-hmm,
my 20s, I went to school, went to undergrad for religion, went and got a master of divinity, found campus ministry and chaplain work, and was really super duper passionate about it, and thought that I was going to kind of evolve in that passion by becoming a chaplain and moving into that next realm of that type of ministry. Like, I really built my ministry identity around serving young adults and serving college students and helping to grow and build their faith. When I got out of divinity school, right? I don't think I necessarily balanced the idea of being a chaplain with the idea of being away from what felt comfortable and where I felt like I needed to be. And at that time, I felt
mm,
like I needed to be in Greenville, but I could not find chaplain positions that would allow me to be in Greenville. So I spent time searching, and I spent a lot of time in jobs that I was not aligned with.
mm,
And I spent years not working hard. Like, I spent years being like, all right, I'm gonna get the job done to some degree. All right. But what they were probably at the time when I worked at a wonderful nonprofit organizations that serves, the young women of America. When I worked there, I was the youngest person on the team. Like,
mm,
I
mm.
was one of the younger people
Were
on the
you?
team.
Mm,
I was. Everybody else was like grown.
mm,
Like, I was like 25, 26, and they were like 40s. My kids are in college. There was one other person who was just a year older than me, and that was my dog. Hey, Kayla. But like, everybody else was pretty much like living their best grown life.
mm,
And I'm sure they were like, listen, we got this new girl. She got the young energy. Okay, she gonna go out there and get it. She gonna get to it. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing gonna be able to stop her. Okay, because she's young and she's gonna
mm,
work hard. And what they got instead was somebody who was a little ambivalent to the work. Someone who did the parts that she liked really well, and the parts that she didn't like or that she didn't understand, she wasn't really following leadership's rules and guidance, because she was like, that's not the way to do it. And I was also at the same time working at a college teaching, and was absolutely in love with that and gave that my all,
mm-hmm.
while I was giving the organization that was employing me full time.
Sure.
eh, I do what I want to do when I want to do it. And so when I was there for 3 years, my last day on the job, I remember they had cupcakes for me in the kitchen and people were saying nice things, and I like cried most of the day, because I was like, this feels really bittersweet, because I feel like I abused the
Mm,
time that I was supposed to be in preparation for purpose. I
mm,
abused that by not allowing that job to do what it was supposed to do for me, which is
mm.
raise my work ethic.
I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. I do think you and you don't I think there's a reality that you don't always find that this is going to happen in your 20s, but I do think recognizing it in your 20s is helpful. Is
Yeah.
this idea of being misaligned. It's no
Mm.
guarantee that you're going to find like you're going to feel completely aligned when you're in whatever field you're in your 20s. You don't know yourself well enough yet.
Of
Like
course not.
so there is, I think, this false expectation that it's like I'm going to find it and it's going to be great. There's a book called um
Good to great.
what is it called? What's it called? It's called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And
Ooh.
I used to teach this book in when I did training for people when I did training for youth workers years ago. And it it basically one of the like the first chapter, first couple of chapters juxtaposes this idea of passion versus I won't say purpose. I don't think he uses that word, but it essentially says this idea of like following your passion is a myth. And he breaks that down in a way that says, hey, you don't like this idea of like you need to follow your passion is going to get you in trouble
Yeah,
because you can't you're never always going to feel great about everything you're doing.
my
It's
lord.
even if you love what you're doing, if you are expecting to feel good about it all the time, you'll never get to a point to where people where you can't be ignored in what you do.
Yeah.
And so where like the growth factor is not based on passion. And I think that in your 20s that's something we have to unlearn a lot. I know I mean I did. You know, it's like because I thought for me passion was hard work. And it's like I equated like, oh, I must be passionate about this cuz I'm working hard at it, which
Mm.
wasn't true. Like and I had to
Mhm.
learn kind of where my real alignment was. But just because you're working hard at something doesn't mean you're automatically aligned. But also, just because you're passionate doesn't mean you don't need to work. Just because you're not passionate doesn't mean you don't work hard. And so I think that understanding that alignment is not guaranteed immediately,
Yeah.
you know?
But here's the thing. Here is the thing. Alignment is not guaranteed, immediately. Like when we say alignment, I think we're really talking about like your gifts and your talents matching a sense of I'm where I'm supposed to be,
Yeah,
right? No, that doesn't happen immediately. But I also believe that God does not waste any of our
not at
experiences.
all. Not at
All
all.
right. So what I later learned as I continued to move and grow in identity and in understanding where I was fit, like my first job, I was not working with young adults. And that became a big thing
Mm,
for me. Like if I ain't working with young adults, what am I doing? And not youth. Because I spent a lot, I did a couple of jobs. All my jobs in
yeah,
the nonprofit world were with the youth.
yeah,
They were with the elementary and the middle school age kids, and I love them. Okay, Auntie Quita loves you down. Okay, but I am going to hit a limit where
yeah,
I'm not called to you right now. Come see me in 10 years
yeah,
and I
right,
got you.
right.
But what I immediately recognized when I got my first leadership position, I immediately recognized that everything I learned from that first job that I refused to do because it was very administrative. It was very much fill out this chart and do these things and paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. And I was like, I ain't doing that crap. And then when I got my first leadership job, it was like, oh, okay, I got to turn this into finance. I got to turn this into the production team. I
Hmm.
got to give this to this VP, and this dean wants this paperwork, and that's all on me.
Hmm.
Right. And so there is no running away from it. It was easy to run from it when I wasn't, at the top of the chart. Right. Like I was like, I don't even know what this stuff,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know the purpose of this. I ain't doing it. But when I became the person that the buck fell on, when I
Hmm.
became the person that like was the responsible one, the responsible party, like when they talk about mitigating risk and they start looking at you, Like, hey, why wasn't this contract filled out right?
Yeah.
Or why wasn't this paperwork done right? You're putting the university at risk. Like when
Yeah.
you that person,
Yep.
you don't ever want to get caught in those crosshairs. And so I realized that by not, and I'm not gonna say my whole 20s I didn't do what I was supposed to do, because that's not true. But those 3 specific years, I was like, bump this job. Like, but I really had to learn. I didn't have to learn work ethic, because I am a hard worker and I really do give my all when I feel aligned. What I had to learn was to give your all even when you don't like what you have to do.
That's right. And that's a that's a lesson I think we have to learn throughout our entire lives. I mean, that's this is
Yeah.
always going to be something that has to be refreshed. Um I'm
Yeah,
sitting
but
here.
in your 20s, you don't really get as much of a choice.
You don't get as
Yeah.
much of a choice because you really are just start. I mean, you're just getting it. You're just getting started.
And we
But
are depending on your youth. You know what I'm
it's
saying?
true.
Like, as a leader, when I was hiring for them event jobs, I was like, hey, give me, not that I wouldn't hire somebody that was older, but you got to show me that you're going to be out there till midnight with the kiddos doing late
Yeah.
night programming.
Yeah.
You got to show me that you can keep up with these high energy, high productive student orgs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so, no, we're depending on, we're depending on your hard work and your youth to
I
get things done.
I realized pretty early. I didn't realize this early on, but something that I did learn. But a lot of my jobs were in the kind of like coordination project management field. So like whether it's events, like I started off doing events, and then managing and coordinating programming for kids, and like that was kind of my first 5 years of work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't until after I left that into more of a higher level administration, program management, design kind of role where I was training people that I realized I wasn't as good at that as I thought I was, because I saw other people who it was they were good at that. But what I also realized was I'd done it enough to understand what needed to be done and find the right people to do it. And so when I got a chance to build out a team in my next role, I was like, okay, these are the things that need to happen. I know I'm not great at it and I don't need to do it, but you
Mm-hmm.
are really good at this because I know what needs to happen. So I think a lot of that 20 and the mindset in your 20s sometimes that can help is this may not be for me, but it's good for me to know, because in my next stage when I'm working smarter in my 30s, part of working smart is knowing who needs to be where so that it don't fall
Yeah.
on you. But if you don't allow yourself to absorb that knowledge earlier so you know how to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't take the opportunity to do something that you're not great at enough to understand you're not great at it, but this is how you be great at it, and go find the person who is great at it and go get them to do it, then you can't work smart. Like working smarter is so much about what understanding what you do and what others do well, and then finding people to do the thing well that you don't do
Yeah.
so that you can maximize what's going on.
Yeah, no, 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 that's real talk.
You got to
Okay,
do it.
that is that, but that is real talk, because that's exactly what I'm doing in the 30s.
Hmm.
I know administratively, because a lot of my current role right now is doing administrative stuff.
Hmm.
It is paperwork, it is email follow up, it is, you know, policy procedures, it is, doing a lot of tasks, and I'm not always a task oriented person. I'm creative. I'm high energy. Put me at the front of the stage, right? I have had to hire, in my role, I get to hire graduate assistants who are, the best of the best. They are in their graduate programs, and they have a lot of energy, a lot of great ideas, and compliment me very well, especially when you get the right one. The one I have now, top tier. Okay, top tier. And all of the administrative stuff comes so natural to her, and she just gets it done. And she be reminding me, she's like, hey, Jaquita, just making sure you don't forget this thing. I'm
Yep.
like, she's learned. she's learned. And so and I stopped feeling bad about that, because this is not me saying that I'm not sufficient for the role. This is me saying I know how to work in a way that's smart for me.
Yep. Yep. And it also is acknowledging, which I think is harder to do in your 20s. In your 30s, and again, we're going by this. Let me just, as a disclaimer, as we're going through these decades, this isn't like I don't think there's hard lines here. I think
Mhm.
this is just a framework that is healthy, and that's interesting. And so we're talking through it, but don't think that like, okay, I can't be 28 and still understand this, right? That's not true.
Yeah.
But so just as a disclaimer around that. But I think that the the understanding, and I used to teach this to a lot of youth workers, which oddly enough, I was not 30 when I was doing this. I was probably like 27, 28, and I was talking to up and coming kind of youth workers and training them around, and they were kind of first second year people. They hadn't done it before, most of them. And I remember kind of having this epiphany of like, there are things, that there are dreams you have, there are things you want to accomplish with your ministry, with your program, that cannot be done by just you alone.
Yeah.
You have to be able to know how to bring other people in, and your hard work will only get you so far. So now how do I do that? What are the skills that I need to have in order to bring other people into the work and make it a we thing, not a me thing, and so
Mhm.
that there is a level of alignment for us all to accomplish what we need to accomplish for the kids that we're working for. And so I think that comes after, it comes at a point, and a lot of people are aligned around that when once you kind of hit that 30s and you're like, hey, this is how I'm working smart. I'm not working alone. Like, I can't work alone and work smart.
Mm,
and i
yeah.
and I think that's the key here, is getting that kind of clarity around
Yeah.
that. I can't work alone and work smart. So there are other skills that I have to build to bring other people into this work. And one of those skills is communication. One of those skills is that's, I think, honestly, I think it's the biggest skill. If I'm just being honest, I think if you can get that right in all different ways, speaking, writing, um, you know, all that, you have to get communication right.
Mhm.
Understanding, listening, like, you have to get communication right if you want people to be involved in what you're doing. You have to get discipline right if you want people to be involved in what you're doing, because if you're chaotic, they're chaotic.
Yeah.
Um, and then nothing gets done and everybody gets frustrated. So the smarter thing, a lot of times it looks like less moving, more thinking. At least in
Mhm.
my experience, this is what it's been, which is a shift, which it has taken me most of my 30s to actually make that shift of less doing, more thinking, without feeling guilty about it. Um, Feeling like I'm not working hard because I'm not moving a lot. But
Mm.
that's not the stage I'm in. I need to, because it is, I've asked other people to help to accomplish certain things. If I'm moving too much, they don't have enough to do to move. That makes sense. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta be still and think in order to communicate what needs to happen, so that they can then take the energy that they have, that they're ready to use, and go run and do it. And I
Yeah.
can't run with them all the time, but that's not what I'm supposed to do. They don't run unless I give it. So the smarter piece shows up a lot of times in sitting and thinking and
Yeah.
preparing and communicating often. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and I think like as you grow as a leader, you realize it was a pleasure for me to pass the you are now the person of impact baton.
yes,
Like you are the person that's going to directly be working with the students, directly working in the program, directly working in the work, while I'm guiding you and guiding the ways that we do work, the framework. I'm building the framework that we all can exist in and become effective in.
yeah,
Right. And that doesn't mean
yeah,
that I'm absent from the work, like the
no,
students, I went from working really directly with the students to kind of being like, like, oh yeah, that's, that's grandma. She be around. I
Yeah,
go to
right.
grandma's house
No,
if I need to, but I don't live there.
that's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
students didn't live in my office.
Mm,
If you weren't with me in my direct phase, you really didn't follow me into my indirect phase.
mm-hmm.
Like, so when I see them around campus, they're like, man, what's up, Jaquita? How you doing? It's been a long time. But they not running in my office.
No,
And
no.
there was a time when I missed that, but
Yeah.
then immediately I recognized that's not where you are.
No,
You
no.
are not at that space and you are not at that time. And now it is my job to prepare and coach those who are, because I didn't necessarily have that when I was in my high impact phase. I didn't
Yes.
have
Mm,
somebody saying, "Hey, this is how you work with the students and this is how
mm,
you build." And I was having to figure it out, but also I may have been, I don't think I was a late bloomer, but I came into my real like higher ed, this is going to chart the path for me forward, in my early 30s. Like, it's kind of like around like 32, 33 is when I found like campus life, student life, and doing that type of work. And so I brought a maturity to it that somebody, because that role might, a person in their 20s may have been able to get more done. And I did a lot. Don't sleep on your girl. Okay, I was out there in the streets, but around 36, I was like, all right,
mm-hmm.
I can't be running these streets no more.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was a pleasure to be able to pass the baton.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a pleasure
Yeah.
anytime I can find somebody to give some more, and to be a person of wisdom and insight.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather do that at this point in my life. And that's part of working smarter too, is knowing how to give back,
Yeah.
because you can't just put people in positions and you don't give to them.
That's right. That's
you
right.
you have to know you have to know what it is, what your responsibility is to the people you have delegated to.
I think that's incredibly important, and it's a learning. It takes. Well, it took me time to learn that, like that. It's not as simple as just delegating and say, "Hey, go do this." Like that,
Mhm.
there has to be training and explanation involved, um, so that they can maximize whatever stage they're in. Like they are kind of, there's a point of them depending on you to direct their movement, to make sure that they are actually feeling fulfilled and like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in this season. And
Yeah.
oftentimes that if that isn't happening, what did it say, like most people don't leave jobs, they leave managers, like at the end of the day. And that is true, because it's like it's not the job, but this person that's supposed to be helping me and leading me and guiding me is just subpar for whatever reason. And so we have to, we've got to be willing to continue to grow in our leadership, not just for us but for the people around us, so that they can have
Mhm.
an opportunity, the same opportunity you did to get here. Like it
Yeah.
really does kind of depend on those people. Like you need wind behind you to move you. I had really great leadership
Mhm.
that pushed me and saw me and moved me, and then set and helped me. And then like,
Yeah.
hey, um they weren't perfect, but I felt supported, and I
Yeah.
felt like, hey, I felt free to do
Mhm.
what I needed to do to grow. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like I want to be able to do that, but that is easier said than done.
Yeah.
It is not. It doesn't just come because you get a position of leadership. You've
Yeah.
got to continue to. You've got to continue to maximize yourself. I think one of the biggest things I've learned about leading in this stage is, and this is a common phrase, but leading is learning in a lot of ways.
Mm,
I have to
mhm.
continue to learn, and
Yeah.
a lot of my time is spent learning on in different ways, different platforms, from different people, around different things. Like I need to continue to learn, because I can't give what I don't have. And if people around me are looking for something, I can't, if I don't have it and all I have is what I've put in me, and what's natural
Mm.
that will run out really quickly.
Yeah.
I've got to continue to fill myself. And so a lot of times what I found is that the time that I used to spend on the go and moving and doing is now spent learning, so that I
Mhm.
can I can give back, and I can say,
Yeah.
"Hey, have you heard about this? Hey, or come with me to this thing. Put your team in positions to learn with you, right?
Yeah.
It's so you are just you're helping to fill them. Doesn't have to be from you, but you understand what you're learning. And I just invited one of my team members to come to something to me. I think last week, and it's like she said she's in social work. This is a kind of a training for people in the neighborhood to help healing trauma with residents and all this. I mean, I'm going for one reason. It's a different reason than her, but I know this was like this might spark something for her. Hey,
Mhm.
come with me. And she was very ecstatic about it. And it's like, just come. And like, but I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have the information, and if I didn't go seek it, and somebody didn't give it to me and I didn't pay attention to it, right? So that is, I think, it's such a critical part of this working smart is you are learning, you are communicating, as you're leading. That is what should take up more of your time than I'm doing and moving.
Yeah. And I think also in your 30s, part of working smarter is being able, like you just talked about, to chart the growth of the people that you're leading.
Yeah.
Right. And to I think one of the hallmarks of great leadership is pouring enough into your people that they outgrow you.
Absolutely.
That they can go, and I was just telling Ruth Abigail this morning, I have one person in particular that everything I poured into him, I see the fruit of.
Mm,
Like, because, and even when I was pouring, when I was investing, I was like, this is going into great soil,
mm,
because he took everything and was like, I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to allow it to make me better and to prepare me to walk into my future.
mm,
And you get to a point in your leadership where there really is no better kickback. It is not about the outcomes of the position, it's about the outcomes of the people.
mm,
And so,
mhm,
like, yeah, I want us absolutely to meet all our metrics, to meet all our goals. And I want to be able to go to conferences and say, all right, guys, we've been really successful. Here's how we've did it. Here's how we've done it. Okay. Here's our model. You may want to follow it. It's successful. Like, I
yeah.
love being that girl, but I also love it when I can help people to move to their next, even if it's not with me.
Mm,
And that takes a lot of intentionality. And there are leaders. I've had to learn that there are different types of leaders. And as a middle manager, okay, when you have to both be a great leader, but you also depend on having great leadership.
absolutely.
And so when you were talking about how a lot of people don't leave the job, they leave the management. Absolutely. Right. Because I am dependent on having leadership that supports me, that encourages me, and that understands me. So, and I have had some great leaders in my life. One in particular, whom being under his leadership, for I was only under there for a year. Can you
Hmm.
believe, it feels like I was with him for years. It was
Yeah.
one amazing year where I felt, I every time I left this office, I felt validated as a leader, especially in my 30s, when I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure out this whole work smarter thing, because it's not just about how hard, it's not about me going out and doing it.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If it was about that, Quita gonna make it happen, right? It is about me being able to work in a way that produces results, but doesn't burn me out
Yeah.
and doesn't burn my team out. Like, and so that's a completely different mindset than it is in your 20s, when it's like, I too was working many a job in my
Yeah.
20s. I too was like, hey, I'm teaching and I'm doing this and I'm gonna go find me some other side things to do, and so, like, you can't do that. The older you get, you cannot continue to sustain that. And the other thing I think that I'm learning in my 30s is that my whole focus is not work.
Yeah. That's good.
It's a lot of life things going on. You know, it's a lot of life things that require my attention. And so
Mhm.
my top priority
Mhm.
is not the job.
Mhm.
Right. And I love my job and I love who I work for and what I do. But at the end of the day, I love me. I love my family. I love my church. I have so many commitments and priorities. And my career has to fit in my life, not my life into my career.
That's good. I think uh so as we move into like this, as we move into our next decade, which if you've been listening, you know what that is. Um, I
Lord.
my hope for it, because I don't know, like, but I do hope to kind of have this working how I, not just how I want to, but how I feel called to, and what I how I feel aligned. Um, and really like really leaning into the parts of me that are the most impactful, and
Yes.
leaning on what I've learned over a, who, I don't want to say this number, but it is what it is, over a 20-year period, right? That is a
Yes.
long
We're old.
time.
We've been working for 20
It's
years.
ridiculous. But
Yeah.
like really leaning into what have I learned. And I think this is interesting because a lot of, I was reading something, um and this is kind of been floating around, oh, especially women change, like shift careers around this decade, or shift into entrepreneurship around their 40s, right? And so it's interesting because this, if you can understand these principles earlier, when you make these shifts won't be as rocky because you
Mm.
understand the foundation it takes to do certain things. Because you're
Yeah.
gonna have anything you, anytime you do something new, you're gonna have to work hard. But
Yeah.
you understand, number one, how to work hard. You, and then you understand how to move into working smart because you've done it before.
Yeah.
You, so those are not foreign. You're learning it a different way, but you're not learning the concept. And so I think like under, like these are foundational um mentalities that are really really critical to spend time with, because you don't know what's going to happen later in your life, and you want to be prepared, and you don't want to feel like you're having to work like you're 25 when you're 45.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, like if we're not careful and we don't take the time to absorb now what we have to understand about ourselves, understand about the reality of what working looks like, then we might find ourselves in that, and that can feel very, that it's depleting. and
Mm.
and so I think like, how I hope to work in this next season is very much around, I intend on putting my energy into things that I believe I am called to do, like, and just, and not questioning that, right? I
Mhm.
know that this is where I need to be putting it.
Yeah.
I know that this is what I'm most aligned with. I know that these are the people that I work best with. I know that, I know this is the outcomes that I can impact, all whatever, right? I'm aware of that. Like I may not get it, I may not bat 1,000 on it, but I know enough to know, like, I know what I don't need to be doing.
Mhm.
I know where I don't need to live. And so that is, I think that's critical. And I'm hoping, and I don't know, I think, and I hope that that'll happen. Um, I know where my gifts are. I know where my gifts are.
Yeah.
I know what I'm pretty good at. Like, and
Yeah.
I know where I want to put those things.
Yeah.
You can't spread your gifts everywhere. I'm not trying to do that. Like, I know this is where I want to put them. I want to put them in my family. I want to put them in certain aspects of my work, and I want to put them in
Mhm.
my community in some way. But I'm not going to do it everywhere because I've done that before. I've put my
Mm.
gifts everywhere. Can't do that no more. I've learned this is where they go. This is what I'm here for. And every somebody else can fill in the gaps somewhere else, and I have to feel bad about that at all. um you know what I'm saying? So that's the mentality I feel like I'm getting towards and feeling more like confident in, and it feels good. Like, it feels really good, but again, it doesn't come without the work of the decades before.
Listen, I have a current list of things that I am at the moment saying yes to that I need to say no to. I mean, it is a list
That's good,
in my
Quita.
head
That's good.
of this doesn't fit me.
Mm,
And there
mm.
is somebody that
That
this
it
would fit
fits.
better for.
Yeah.
And I have been here doing this because out of a sense of obligation, out of a sense of this is what is needed. But
Mm,
I know that I could be doing more if I was aligned,
yeah.
if I was in the right spot, like, and so even right now, like with work, with school, with church, with in all of those areas, there is a place where I'm like, I gotta make sure that I'm in alignment because that's when I'm gonna be effective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna be effective doing somebody else's work.
Nope.
And I think that's really what the 40s is about to be about. I really think that it's about to be like, hey, are you doing what you supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Because that's how we go from good to great.
Yeah.
Right. That's how we go from, oh yeah, she had some level of impact to listen. If you need this, you call her.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and you have to continue to hone that in. Right? Like, you are not a person that does everything. You are a person that does your thing really, really well. Right? And so, when I think about this next decade of my life, I know that I am creating a narrative, or that my 30s have created a narrative that my 40s are going to thrive in,
Yeah.
because I am going to become
Mm,
that girl for that thing. Right. And I think I spent a lot of time in my 30s learning leadership, learning organizations, learning impact and influence, learning how to navigate challenges, learning how to really learning how to be myself,
mm,
and be good with that, and telling other people, hey, this is what it is.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the things that are negotiable, and these are the things that I don't plan on changing. I
Mm,
like it.
mm,
And I'm very sorry if you don't like it, but this what I got.
yeah.
And really being a little bit more firm in that. And I think, we're talking a lot about career for this, because the framework of Jill Scott's message was really about work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's about how you orient yourself in life,
Very true.
period.
Yes.
Right? Like, I don't have to keep carrying um relationships or projects or obligations just because I've always carried
Come
them.
on, man.
I
Come
don't
on.
have to.
Absolutely
I
not.
don't have to. If it don't fit, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
You
All
must have
right.
quit. You must let it
Okay.
go. Yeah.
There's some things we just gotta let go.
Gotta
It
let
don't
it go.
fit no more. And you still keep trying to drag all this old stuff into this new season of your life. And it
Mm,
is wearing you out because you know it's not supposed to be there no more.
mm.
You know that its time has run out. You know it. You know that person that you keep every time they call, you be like, ugh. And you still be like, hey
Hey.
girl, how you doing? Yeah, child.
Oh,
Yeah, so and so did what again? My lord. Like,
oh man.
you still, and it's not, and I'm not, first of all, I'm not telling you to go break up with all your friends. That's not what I'm telling you to do.
No.
But I think we have to spend some time being honest with ourselves about what works for us and what we've just been working with. And there's a lot of stuff you've been working with that don't actually work for you.
Man.
And you're not going to be able to move into the season of working how you want to if
Mm-hmm.
you still got a bunch of stuff that don't make sense for you.
That's real.
Does it make sense with you for you? And also, have you been honest with these people, places, and organizations
Mm,
about what you really need from them?
mm,
Have you spoken it out loud? Have
mm.
you said, "Hey, this is what would help me to feel more comfortable, to feel safer, to feel more aligned in this space."
Yeah.
Have you spoken those things to them? Right? Because some stuff keeps going on because people actually think you're happy.
Mm,
Like, people actually think, hey, yeah, Jaquita good with everything. I used to be the good with everything kind of gal.
yeah.
I used to be the, hey, This all works for me, especially in my 20s.
Yeah.
What do you want to watch on the TV? Whatever you like. Where you want to go for dinner? Wherever you like.
Right.
Like I had no, and I honestly, if you ask me what my real opinion was, I really didn't have one
Yeah.
because I literally was in a space where I was waiting for somebody else to take lead. I was just like, there's no point. I'm not. My opinion's not gonna be good enough. Why even form one?
Mm.
Right? Why even take the time to know what I like and what I don't like when I can just let people with stronger personalities and who have more preferences
Mm.
lead the way?
Yeah.
Sure, you whatever you like, whatever you want to watch, whatever you want to do, sure.
Yeah.
And in my 30s, I had to spend some time with myself and say, Jaquita, this is what works for you and this is what doesn't.
Right.
This is what builds you up and this is what tears you down.
Yep.
This is when you get in this space, you that girl. When you in this space, you another face in the
Mm.
sea of people doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so you get when you as we head on over to this next decade, I'm that girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I'm that
Yeah.
girl because I've become that girl.
Because you become that. Because
Yeah.
it didn't, and I think it's important, as we kind of, because honestly, I don't know that we can go much further than this because we haven't hit all
Hey,
these things. You know what I'm
aspirations
saying?
and dreams.
You
Okay.
know,
I'm trying to get to them 50s and 60s. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
man. Look, but I think two things that came to mind when you were talking is one thing that it takes to do the things you were saying. I got to release things. I got to shift things. Sometimes I'm gonna have to disappoint people. Um, is is courage. You got to have courage to do this stuff. You have to have courage to get out of what you've been living for the last 10 years of your life and move into something different. It's going to take courage, and I experience this all the time. I just actually I have somebody on my team who is probably my she's my heart. She is the person who pushes me the hardest to be better, and
Mm,
I cannot stand her sometimes, but she in the best way. They don't take that no, like in the best way. She gets on my nerves and I get on hers. But we are a really good team, and she pushes me outside of my comfort zone to be better and pushes me to be more courageous to be a better leader. I'm a people
mm,
pleaser by nature. It is a problem, and I'm trying to break it. And she's just absolutely not. And so like she's like, you can't keep accommodate people like this, like XYZ. And so I have had to take it's small, it makes me small to other people, but small moves of courage towards that kind of growth
mhm.
so that I don't let this stop me from moving forward and what I know I'm called to do and how I'm called to lead. And so that and I appreciate that like about her and about others, but she probably does it the most right now. And so I am I think so courage, you're going to need courage because you
Mhm.
anything moving towards something that you're unfamiliar with is going to be uncomfortable. And you have to
Yeah.
have courage to do that. And I think the other thing that's important to understand is to unlearn really is like this idea that just because you hit another decade doesn't automatically mean these phases happen. Like it's not a guarantee. It actually takes some some intentionality
Mhm.
to do this. So I think it's a great framework, and that's why we wanted to talk through it. But it doesn't just happen. Just because you turn 30 doesn't mean you automatically gonna work smarter. Just because you turn
No.
40 doesn't mean you automatically gonna work how you want to. Like you got to put some work in. You have to put some work into the learning of doing it, and you have to be
Mhm.
patient with yourself. Um, and don't expect it to happen overnight just because you're a certain age. But I also think just because you are maybe a younger age doesn't mean that you can't get there too. So again, it's a framework. It's not a prescriptive thing. It's just a framework to think through. And I think how most of us experience these stages in our life. But don't think that you turn 32 and automatically it's like, oh, here we go. Like I'm about to be in this. No, that doesn't happen. You have to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't prepare, you're not gonna succeed in it. And so you might find yourself when you're 50, when you're 60, still having to work in ways that you really don't want to
Mm.
because you missed this time of preparation. And so we want to encourage you, don't miss this time of preparation. Whatever stage you're in, Like, don't miss this time of preparation. And if you feel like you have missed it before, it's not too late to do it now. There, like, you don't have to. If you feel like I've squandered, all these years and then not done what I was supposed to do and not really paid attention to myself, I'm not aligned. I haven't really worked as hard as I need to, and I'm 43. It's not too late.
You're fine.
You're
It's okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Not too late. You have the opportunity, because just time itself gives you something that you didn't have before. So just believe, like, hey, it's not too late to continue to prepare and grow and still reach these levels that I might want to reach, even if you feel like you're starting late. Like, don't feel like that's the case. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jill Scott.
Thanks, Jilly.
Appreciate you, dog.
Yeah.
This is
I
good.
think it's so interesting, when you're talking about moving from stage to stage to stage, like I think anytime we can put a framework of understanding around that, it helps us to navigate better because I'm going in my 40s like, all right, the goal is I can work how I want to work, right?
Hmm.
Like that's the goal. And so it allows us to move forward with some understanding of what we're building.
Yes.
And so anytime, and you know what, you guys, if you have heard an interesting quote lately, or if you've heard something that you're like, I really want them to talk about that, send it to us. We would love
We would
some
love to.
ideas.
That'd be
We
great.
would, yeah, that would be awesome. Like if you guys are like, man, this thing happened, or this person said this thing. I wonder what Jaquita and Ruth Abigail would say about that. Like, just shoot us a message.
Shoot us a message. Let us know.
Happy to explore.
And we would love to do that. That'd be fun. All right. I think we're done.
I think we're
I
done.
think we're
We did
done.
it.
We did it. We did it. Hey, y'all, if this was meaningful for you, share it. Don't keep it to yourself. Like it. Subscribe to the channels. We appreciate y'all. We wouldn't be here without you. And until then, we're gonna keep unlearning together. We experience more freedom.
Bye,
Peace.
y'all.